Okay, so you said the question.
Do you know anyone who escaped and how difficult was it?
Yes, when I grew up we had a household help called Renate, and she came. She was a girl who escaped just as the wall was being built between East and West Berlin. She just, aged 16, saw the wall being built, knew this was her last chance, and just ran across with nothing. So a 16-year-old girl, no education, no training, just then ended up in West Berlin, and through some kind people came down south to Frankfurt, and my grandparents took her in, gave her a job, and she lived with us, until she died. So that was sort of, that I always knew that she'd sort of managed to come across the wall before it was built. But once the wall was built, it was very difficult. Lots of people died. There's quite a massive double wall with guarding towers and military with machine guns, basically shooting you. You might be lucky that nobody sees you, but usually running across there, you get killed. You have to be pretty desperate. But I do know that there's some fantastic stories about people who escaped, like in Checkpoint Charlie, which used to be this very severe border control. They now built a museum and have a lot of stories and pictures and documentation about the people who managed to escape. And I think one which was fantastic was that they made 2 suitcases that had connecting holes. So this girlfriend, she fell in love with a boy from the West and got on the train, East Germany, hid in the suitcases, and basically, because they look like 2 separate suitcases, so logically a whole person can't fit in there, but because they had a hole, open hole, which you couldn't see when they were pushed next to each other, they put them up on the rack. She climbed in, so she could fit into the 2 suitcases connected by this hole. But when they're close and next to each other, they look just like 2 suitcases. And they took the chance. Obviously, some guard could have come in and searched the suitcases and immediately found her, but they didn't, and she was lucky, and she did escape. And I'm sure, if you go to Checkpoint Charlie, there are fantastic documentation and stories about how inventive people became to escape.
And did you get a piece of the wall?
I could have, which is really interesting, and I never thought about it because it had such a bad memory for me. I was very sad when Germany was divided, and it was so euphoric when the reunification happened. But I never thought that the wall was such a significant piece. With hindsight, yes, maybe, but no, sadly I didn't. But I do have a very good memory in that in 1989, when the wall came down, that summer we went to Hungary, and Hungary was part of the Eastern Bloc, and certainly West Germans could travel to Hungary, and everybody knew that the Hungarians' border control was very relaxed, not as severe as the East German border control. So as we were in Budapest and on our way out of Budapest, going back across to Vienna, we already saw lots of people from East Germany who came down there in their trabants with tents, starting to camp there and slowly crossing the border. In the end, the Hungarian guards didn't do anything. They just said, "Hey, cool, go." And that was the beginning, that was the leak. And then it just rolled, and just people crossed borders and nobody controlled it anymore. And it led to actually the fall of the wall, which was great news for me, particularly because I sort of grew up with this divided Germany and could see it being reunited.
Thank you.
You're welcome.